This is The Whole Truth, brought to you by the Greenville County Democratic Party. From local city councils and school boards to the South Carolina legislature and the nation, we provide a clear-eyed view of the whole truth surrounding the decisions, the policies, and the politics that have a direct impact on your family, your neighbors, and you. In today's episode, we continue our special series on local civics. GCDP First Vice Chair Steve Ramirez offers insights on precincts, districts, and gerrymandering and what they mean to you as a voter. Hello and welcome to another episode of The Whole Truth, the podcast brought to you by the Greenville County Democratic Party. Have you ever wondered why your vote sometimes feels like it doesn't matter? Do you know who represents you in the South Carolina House? Can you name your 2 U.S. senators? Do you even know what precinct you live in? Or why that tiny piece of geography may be one of the most important political facts about you? I'm old enough to be a baby boomer, can you tell? Yeah, I'm the youngest of them, but boomer nonetheless. And I'll admit something. My generation largely fell asleep at the civic wheel. After World War II, America experienced unprecedented prosperity. As the economy grew, many of us assumed our democracy would simply keep taking care of itself. We became comfortable. We became complacent. Then came the promise that cutting taxes for those at the top would create prosperity for everyone, that wealth would trickle down. Whether you believe that worked or not. One thing is undeniable. Over the decades, America has become much more politically divided, and too many citizens have become disconnected from how our government actually works. It's time to wake up. Our democratic republic isn't a spectator sport. It depends on informed citizens who understand not only who represents them, but also how they came to represent them and what powers they have to alter that relationship. That's where precincts, political districts, and gerrymandering come in. These aren't obscure political terms. They're the framework that shapes elections, representation, and ultimately, whose voices get heard. So let's get into it. Let's learn. In this session, we'll explore how precincts work, how districts are drawn, how gerrymandering influences elections, and why understanding these topics is one of the most important steps you can take to become a more effective citizen. Welcome to Civics. So, what precinct are you in? Do you know? What district are you in? I figured we're all pretty familiar with districts. You're familiar with the Hunger Games, right? That's what the districts mean? Well, no, not exactly. So what about city council districts? Do you know? What about county council district? State House, Senate, State House, U.S. Congressional District, School Board District. Do you know any of those? How many of them do you know? I didn't know them all until fairly recently. I was asleep at the wheel, like I mentioned. What is a precinct? Well, it is the smallest area that is a political entity unto itself, an area created by the legislature, South Carolina legislature in this case, to localize polling places. It's where you go to vote. Pretty simply. So are there rules on how those precincts get made? Yeah, county election boards, they place at least one polling facility inside each precinct. If you have to go outside that precinct for some reason, yeah, there are rules and exceptions, but basically it's where you go vote. Not real complex. It's kind of a cell, the smallest possible political area, political zone that there is. Greenville County. What do the precincts look like? Well, here's a map for you. You've got fairly large ones in the top, fairly condensed ones in the middle, and fairly large ones at the bottom. Why? Rural areas, the density of people, much less. They try to keep precincts roughly the same size, so that's why the distinction there. So if you want to know where your precinct is, this kind of map is not all that helpful. Does that help? That you got the streets there? Maybe not. In fact, you've got all these identifiers for what the precinct name is, what the precinct number is. Even got the breakout map to really clarify within the city of Greenville. Yeah, not all that helpful. How about this? It's got lots of pretty colors. Colors tell you, and you can look up your precinct. You can try to find where it is. Again, marginally helpful. You can zoom in on it. It helps a little bit, but what you really need is an interactive type of map. If you just search on Greenville County GIS, you will find your way to the GIS system for Greenville County. That map is absolutely phenomenal. You get all sorts of information. You can see the precincts, like here, Greenville 28, Greenville 26. You can see the boundaries. You can zoom in, you can zoom out. You can see all sorts of gory detail down to, okay, the smallest area house by house and where the voting actually takes place, the polling place. And you can also start to understand why and where. Like, for example, this house here up on the right, why it's only 2 houses away from these polling places, but they have to go quite a distance away. You can start to see some of these details, but that map set is a wonderful tool. With that, you can also take a look at the political districts to understand what is where. You can begin to see, for example, in Greenville County, we've got 2 districts. We've got number 3, Congressional District 3, which is currently held by Sherry Biggs, who is now being challenged by Eunice Laymacher, and Congressional District 4, which is currently held by William Timmons and being challenged by Courtney McLean as the Democrat. You can also begin asking some very interesting questions like, why does Simpsonville, a city, why does District 3 not include Simpsonville when it could just be a straight line straight across there? Why did it get excerpted out of that district? These kind of questions, good to ask. So you can also find all sorts of other layers in there as well. You've got the South Carolina Senate districts on the left. You've got the South Carolina House districts on the right. You've got the South Carolina County Council, or the Greenville County Council districts. You've got school board districts as well. One thing I kind of noticed after staring at these for quite a while, you see some similarities. For example, you've got County Council District 17 up here in the big green one, and School Board District 17 over here in the red on the right. Interesting. So 17, they kind of keep together. 26 down here, 26 down here on the right, going back up to the previous. So the South Carolina House, 17 back up on the top, 28 down here. So interesting. The district numbers are close, but not close enough to actually be helpful. Just a bit confusing. So, where am I? In which district am I? These kind of questions can be answered very simply with scvotes.gov. That is a phenomenal website put in place by our state government. It can answer you all sorts of questions like who's on my ballot, is my registration valid, what were the results of the last election, etc. I mean, you can find all sorts of information there. You do have to put in your last 4 digits of your social security number. If you're a little bit skittish about that, you can go to this, but you have to remember what that website is. You can Google it or search it with whatever search engine you want and find how to find your legislators. That'll get you there. The other possibility is, scvotes.gov, or you could look at scvotes.gov. Please remember that and tell everybody you know about it. It is a fantastic resource. Districts. Let's take a look at a map. So here is House District 27, and this map was actually created for a special purpose to show the overlapping districts at different levels. In this case, like I said, House District 27. But if you take a look at the county council districts that overlap it, it's not one-to-one. Because of those maps that I showed you before, almost none of them are exact overlay maps. So you have to understand, as a politician or as a civically engaged citizen, where you actually are in all of this mess. For example, House District 27. Overlay that with the county council districts. Greenville 24 is off here to the left. 26 down at the bottom. County Council 27 off to the right. and County Council 28 here in the middle. This map also has the state Senate districts. They're shaded with different patterns. This one's a crosshatch, and so Senate 8 fills in this whole area. Senate 9 is just the slash, and that's down here. And Senate 7 up here. So depending on where you are in this district, you may have different state Senate members. So let's just add a little bit of fluff here, but preparing for the next slide, which is, okay, let's compare that to the overlaying House District 28. So here, or County Council District 28. So here is County Council District 28. You can kind of recognize this same shape that was in the last, but overall, you see the shape of that district is quite a bit different. And once again, the House districts that it overlaps, quite a bit different. You've got 21, 24, 5, 7, 8, and 35 all in there, all in different locations. And again, this county council person needs to kind of know who their representative is and who their other House counterparts are and who their state Senate counterparts are in that district. So, one other thing to note, the colors are a little bit off on this, but that's partially because of the shading and other reasons, but you get the drift. Next topic. What the heck is gerrymandering? Lots of folks already kind of know. Where did that gerrymandering come from? Well, this goes way back to 1812 in the United States. Mr. Eldridge Gerry is for whom it was named. Basically took a first pass at altering districts to help one party over the other. The Democratic Republicans were the ones who, in this case, took advantage of this system to get a stronghold over the Federalists. So, yeah, it goes way back. It's kind of American heritage at this point, sadly. But there are some bad things that go along with that. So here's a simple explainer. So if you've got, say, 50 precincts, and you want to divide, or you have to divide them up into larger districts. So you've got 60%, in this case, blue voting people and 40% red voting people, whether that's at the state level, whether that's at the presidential level, or even local school boards. 60% think this way, 40% think the other way. There are ways that you can subdivide this area. If you need to, for example, create 5 different districts, how do you divide this up into 5 different districts such that you have good representation for each of these? Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 columns. We could take each of these columns and call them one district. Second column, second district. Third column, etc., etc. Or, let's see, somebody else might suggest that, hey, what if we go horizontally instead and have 5 districts broken up that way? Well, if you take a look at the voters in that district and who wins in that district, you've got 6 blue votes, 6 precincts voting blue and 4 precincts voting red. And that happens all the way up, all of these 5 districts. Blue definitely wins this arrangement. So is there a way to undo that? Well, certainly there is. You can take another pass at the districting lines and arrange it such that there are now 3 red and 2 blue districts. Haha, red now wins. So what does representation look like for those? Maybe not so great. Now here's reality, and a fairly recent reality. This comes from Bloomberg, not exactly notably a liberal rag by a long stretch. It deals with the recent case of redistricting that was proposed in South Carolina, but it also deals with a couple iterations back. There was a South Carolina court case in the prior redistricting. And in that case, the Supreme Court said, as long as you're redistricting for political purposes, that's okay. Now, that's different from the Louisiana Calais case, where they came out and said, no, you may not district this way because y'all did it for racial reasons. Therefore, we cannot allow that. Some of the South Carolinians came out and said, well, let's go back and redistrict the heck out of South Carolina and get rid of this number 6 district, which happens to be held by a Democrat. And over here, they bust it all up, or what's called cracking the concentration of black voters that happen in District 6. Now, like I mentioned, you cannot do this for racial reasons. However, you can do it for political reasons. So if when you're presenting this case and you say, we just want to break up the Democratic voting population, that's all. Well, that's actually what happened in the earlier case with South Carolina Supreme Court. And part of the reason that they were not successful this time around, as well as the incredible pushback by the Democrats voting early, as the elections had already started at this point. Some critical thinking questions for you. Who benefits from separating voters up by their voting inclinations in this way? In this district, District 6, who has voted or who has benefited from that arrangement? Did District 2 benefit? Did District 1 benefit? Did District 6 benefit? They're good questions to ask. How does the population as a whole perceive that they are being represented in either case? So let's take a look at South Carolina population, their inclination versus their representation. So one measure of inclination. So you take a look at the 2024 election and who voted for Trump and Vance and who voted for Harris and Walz. You got 1,000,004 on one side, 1,000,000 on the other side. So 58% voting for Republicans, 40% for the Democrats. So that's call it inclination. What does their representation look like? Hey, 6 Republicans, that's 85% representation, and only 1 Democrat, 14%, compared to the 40% of the people who are inclined to vote that way. Not exactly what I'd call representative. Well, let's take a look more specifically in Greenville County and the population inclination versus their representation. Well, in Greenville County, same thing. Just take a look at the Trump-Vance votes versus the Harris-Walz votes. You got 60% voting red and 38% voting blue. Who are our representatives in Congress? They're both Republicans. So how is our representation looking? Not quite as representative as many Democrats would like. How do districts get put together, torn apart, ripped together, and also, how do they get rearranged and redistricted? Well, there are several rules in the South Carolina Constitution, and there are other rules, but they are, in the words of Captain Barbosa, they're more like guidelines. Contiguity or continuity, compactness, communities of interest should all be grouped together. Those are all nice, fuzzy things that should happen, but as a general rule, not so much. They're more like guidelines, so these kind of get overlooked fairly frequently when redistricting. If you'd like a fun tutorial on this, take a look up with your search engine CGP Gray, and take a look at his video on gerrymandering. It's a wonderful production, very short, but it explains what gerrymandering is and the downsides of what happens when you do that. The YouTube link I have there as well. Take a look at it. He's got a whole bunch of other videos as well about first past the post, the type of voting system that we have in the U.S., ranked choice voting. There's a slew of these things he put together a decade and a half ago. I'm not sure exactly how long ago, but they're magnificent tutorials. Back to the precincts. So let's take a look at one particular precinct. In this case, it's Southside, or precinct number 318. Let's take a look at what its representation is and what districts are in it. So let's start out with the easy one, U.S. House. This is up on the kind of north side. So District 4, currently represented by William Timmons. Courtney McLean trying to kick his tush out of there. All of those in this precinct are represented by one U.S. House representative. So that's relatively straightforward. Now the South Carolina House. Here's where we start getting a little tricky. There's a division line right in the middle. So within this precinct, you've got two representatives that would represent these constituents in this precinct. You've got District 24, so Caroline Avenger, who's battling Bruce Bannister, and Wendell Jones on the south side. So you can see that the boundary level, or the boundary marker, is basically the river here, but then it kind of wiggles off into a distance there. How those got created, again, those soft little reasons. Well, we want some of these people here, we want other people there, I want these constituents, I want those constituents. Once again, let's take a look at a different county council in this case. So you've got, on the south side, you've got County Council 24, or actually north side, County Council 24, on the south side, 25. So that's Liz Seaman and Ennis Font in this case. And you notice that the river is still a defining boundary during part of it. But then down here, as you go further toward the west and the southwest, it doesn't have those same lumps and bumps. Why? Excellent questions. Then City Council, oh my, we start looking very salamander-ish. That's actually how the gerrymandering came about, was it looked like a salamander. This actually may not be because of gerrymandering per se, but it does have to do with annexation, what areas get annexed by the city proper, and that I'll have to save for a whole separate episode. And then, of course, South Carolina Senate, which has everybody all in this precinct, all one Senate district. So it's a mixed and matched bag. Now, school board. Oh my, another boundary. Well, you start up along the river here, but take a different branch of the river, and that's the new boundary up here. And yeah, you've got Ann Presley up top, and then Michelle Goodwin Caldwell, District 25 on the bottom. So it is not crystal clear, even down at the smallest precinct, or the precinct level, how all of these districts look. I'd love to have every precinct just have one set of people that represent it, but alas, that's not what we have currently. So when you think about going to the polls, the poll manager at this precinct now has to have the breakup of ballots such that represent each of these variations in the districts and all of the combinations thereof. So for each of the people who is in a slightly different combination of districts, they have to have their own ballot. Lots of fun there, but they do a pretty good job with that. What does this mean when it comes time for elections? So people standing in line here in this pretty picture, 2024, that's actually one of the biggest problems that we see here in South Carolina. Overcrowded precincts. You've got the state rules that actually state if a precinct exceeds 750 registered voters, it must be separated up into with separate managers and separate facilities. Now, I suppose there's some fuzzy areas to call separate managers. Well, if you have two poll managers there, could they be considered separate managers? And if you have two poll books there, would that be separate facilities? Yeah, okay, there's some gray area that they can kind of scoot around. Title VII under the elections and the state statutes, it gets even weirder. So the State Election Commission shall report the names of all polling precincts that have more than 1,500 registered electors. Basically, that's so that no precinct shall have more than 1,500 qualified electors. So, how many does Greenville have? Here are the 151 precincts in Greenville County. Small writing, I know, so I've got the summary over here. Average size of these, 2,291 souls, registered voters. The median size is even 2,153. Let's take a look at those that are over 1,500. Just highlighted here in red with deeper red, meaning, they're further over that limit. If there's no coloration, then, they're actually underneath the 1,500 registered voter limit. So what's the maximum size? You got Walnut Springs down here, 5823. That's slightly larger than 1,500. Well, how many of our precincts are actually under 1,500? A whopping total of 24 precincts. How we're doing this, don't know. But what are the fixes? What are the cures for that? Well, one of them is early voting. Well, this is a picture from 2026, early voting, day 1. It was significant for other reasons, probably most due to that redistricting item that I mentioned earlier. But early voting is starting to become more and more popular, and yes, there are lines. The voting places that occur for early voting are fewer than one per precinct, far fewer. So that concentration does go way up, but it is one possibility to try and minimize some of those lines. The other way to fix that is to try to increase the number of poll managers and precincts that we've got. Like I mentioned, Walnut Springs has over almost 6,000 people, which is 2 to 3x times what it should be. If we had more poll workers there, we might be able to push to get that broken up into several different precincts. Greenville County Election Commission is asking people to work as poll managers and poll clerks if those can climb up the ranks quickly enough. You can actually earn a little bit of cash for this. You have to be registered to vote in South Carolina, except for the 16, 17-year-olds. They can apply to be poll manager assistant, but you can learn about the system. You can serve your community. This is all about civic duty and actually paying attention, getting involved, and making a difference. Earning a small bit of cash, it's a small bit of cash. It's pretty close to minimum wage or less, depending on how much time you're putting in there, but consider it. The poll manager checklist, I found this on the web and thought this was rather interesting. Age 18, must be registered, be prepared to work the entire election day. That is definitely one of the keys. You go from start to finish from 7 to 7, but you're there an hour ahead and probably an hour at the tail end. So 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. It's a long day, but it's worth it. The last one here, be nonpartisan and serve all voters fairly. This is why I want a lot of you people out there. You can be nonpartisan, as in behave nonpartisan. That is what is needed. That's what is expected. Be there to capture what is going on, to understand what is going on, to be able to communicate to other people what is going on, and to also keep track and make sure nothing untoward is happening. Those all are excellent reasons for all you Democrats out there to get involved in this. Become a poll worker. Please take a look at that. That is about all I've got for the Greenville County Democratic Party and precincts. Hope you enjoyed this civics lesson. Have a great one. The Greenville County Democratic Party thanks you for watching or listening. We are thrilled that you are being an active participant in our civic society. But there are many others who still haven't recognized that their participation will make a positive difference. So we ask you to please share this podcast with others you know, especially those outside your politically minded circles. Most of all, we need you with your time, skills, and effort to help engage more like-minded voters in order to make significant change to our government. Find out how to get involved by connecting with us. Visit the GCDP website, www.greenvilledemocrats.com, and look at the upcoming events calendar or sign up on the volunteer page. Keep up with us by following or subscribing at our social media platforms. Search for GVL Dem on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Threads, or Greenville County Democratic on YouTube. Thanks.